Good morning and welcome. For those of you out there hanging out in the atrium, my name is Isaac.
My name is Mike.
And funny thing, Mike, it's my dad's name.
It's a great name.
It's a great name.
Yeah, only the best.
Yeah.
Isaacs are, next in line.
They are next.
Mike's Isaacs.
Mike Isaac.
Yep, Mike Isaac.
Yeah. They both have some popular names associated with, or popular people associated with the name.
They do. But, what's the nickname for Isaac? Because like Michael, Mike.
Ike.
Ike?
Ike.
I-K-E.
I-K-E.
How's that from Isaac?
I don't know the lineage of the nickname, but I know that is a nickname for Isaac.
But not Zick.
Zick. Not Zick.
Not Zick, okay.
No, but welcome. Good morning, everyone. We are here on this fine day in, because what is today, Mike?
Today, it is...
Let me give you a hint. Give you a hint.
Mother's Day, yes.
Mother's Day!
Yes, now what, your mug has a Yoda and a best mom.
Yep, Yoda best mom.
So that must not be your mug.
It's not my mug, no. I got this mug for my wife last year, and I would like to point out, I know that this is actually the baby Yoda from the Mandalorian series, but his name is not Yoda. His name is Grogu.
Oh.
But when I bought the mug, we hadn't found out his name yet in the show. It was always just known as the child.
Baby Yoda.
The child. And then people called him Baby Yoda.
So your wife likes Star Wars, Mandalorian.
She does like Star Wars. A lot, actually. And we got to celebrate some of that this week. It was being May the 4th this past week. A lot of fun. So,
do you guys go all out for May the 4th in your family?
We watch a few things. We... that kind of stuff. We don't go all out. Not all out.
Because I know of people that have like Wookiee costumes and like Wookiee coats, and they post them on Instagram and things.
Those people are weird.
Yeah, just weird.
Oh,
wait a minute.
It's me.
That would be Isaac, yes.
I do have a Chewbacca jacket. It's a hoodie. It's a zip hoodie.
Now, is it Chewbacca or is it a Wookiee?
It's Chewbacca.
It is.
Specifically.
Because it has his belt
bandolier thing.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
It's definitely Chewbacca, and he's one of my favorite characters.
You got to love Chewie.
Chewie's great.
I mean, he's epic.
He's pretty awesome. And, that coat is warm. I'd say it that way. It's very warm.
Where does one purchase a Wookiee coat?
Amazon.
Oh, of course.
I mean, I might ask you, where does one purchase a jellyfish shirt?
A jellyfish shirt. This is exclusive to Banana Republic. Yes. Banana Republic and jellyfish.
Now, do you own any Star Wars attire?
I do not own one piece of Star Wars attire, but I do love the movies. Love them.
Love the movies. Yes. Don't own any attire, but you do own a jellyfish shirt.
But I own a jellyfish shirt, correct.
I don't own a jellyfish shirt. I'm feeling like I should. Maybe we could.
Yeah, we could swap.
We could.
Does Laura have a Wookiee coat or any Star Wars gear?
She has some Star Wars shirts.
Okay.
Thinking of gear. No. But Austin has a lot of gear. He has several lightsabers.
Oh, of course. Every kid has to have a lightsaber.
Lots of them. He has some that are Jedi, some that are Siths. He has, so he also has the Jedi cloak.
Ooh, the full cloak.
Yeah, it's like a bathrobe. Kind of, I guess.
Yes. Yeah.
Sort of.
It could be like multi-purpose for a lot of things. It could be a pirate.
My kids and my wife got me last year a full Stormtrooper outfit.
Full.
Head
like
to toe.
Plastic.
No, it's like just a suit that you. It's not plastic.
Do you have boots that go with it?
The helmet is plastic. No boots. So I'm gonna have to break out my go-go dancing boots for this.
So when do you wear that costume? Is that like dates out, date nights? Just like put that on and
I've not worn it. But thank you. Thank you for that.
Okay.
But hey, Mike, on this incredible day, Mother's Day, I was thinking about some fun stuff and like a memory that came to my mind when I was from as a kid growing up, thinking about my mom. A time that I laughed hysterically that I remember was you guys probably don't know and understand this, but I was kind of a troublemaker, kind of a handful growing up. I know that's hard to believe. But I was running away from my house one day, because that's what you do as a little kid, apparently. That's it. I'm out. I'm running away. So I got out, and I started to leave, and of course, I wasn't going to cross the street, so I eventually was just going to run the block. So I was running away, and my mom came out after me. And I turn around as I get to the corner to see her coming after me, and she's sprinting after me. And I'm not going to explain why this is, but it was the funniest thing I have ever seen, watching my mom run. And so I was like, uh-oh, and I start laughing, and then I realize maybe I don't want to run away because that's hilarious. And so then I thought, okay, we're all better when she caught up to me, and we were not. She was pretty upset with me.
So how long had you been threatening the whole I'm going to run away thing for?
I don't know, an hour maybe? I don't know.
I know, but did it lead up to this for like weeks, months? Like, I'm going to run away.
No, it was in the moment.
In the moment.
Just in the
Spur
moment.
the moment, I'm going to run away.
That's it, I'm out of here.
And you turned and
You
ran.
can't do that to me. And I ran. But
sprinting after you.
That's right. Well, anyway, I've taken up all of our time. I'm sorry. Well, welcome. We're so glad you're here. We'll see you here in just a few minutes.
Happy Mother's Day, Sarah. After waiting to have a child for so many years, you must be overjoyed to have Isaac. Today is about you and all those who are still waiting. Happy Mother's Day, midwives of Israel. You risked your own safety to ensure the survival of countless children. Today is about you and all those who care for children and call it work. Happy Mother's Day, daughter of Pharaoh. By welcoming Moses into your family, you showed so much love. Today is about you and all foster and adoptive parents. Happy Mother's Day, Naomi. You walked with Ruth as a friend and cared for a child as your own grandchild. Today is about you and all grandmothers and extended family who care for children. Happy Mother's Day, Hannah. You let go of Samuel, even though it hurt you. Today is about you and all those whose children are not living with them right now. Happy Mother's Day, Anna. Life didn't go as you had hoped, yet you found peace and worth in your service to God. Today is about you and all those experiencing heartache at how things have turned out. Happy Mother's Day, Lois and Eunice. Your faith changed Timothy's life. Today is about all those who are playing a part in raising the next generation. Mother's Day is about you, whatever your role might be.
Well, good morning. Happy Mother's Day. It's great to see everybody. I love that we are part of a faith tradition that is rich with different images of motherhood, different images of care, strong women, strong mothering images all throughout the pages of our sacred scripture. So that is so amazing, and what a great day we have to celebrate it. Hey, my name is Ryan. I'm the lead pastor here. If this is your first time here in the room or tuning in online, thank you so much for being a part of our Mother's Day celebration today. We have a wonderful experience planned for us, acknowledging the complexities of this day. And I want to encourage you, invite you to stand up we're going to start with a song today and sing this song together, which really speaks to the goodness of God. And there's this line that says, I run into your arms. What a great picture of parenting, of safety and security, that we can run into God's arms. Let's sing this together.
You are good, you are good, when there's nothing good in me. You are love, on display for all to see. You are light, when the darkness closes in. You are hope, you have covered all my sin. You are peace, you are so glad that you're here. Why don't you go ahead and take a seat?
Welcome to Mother's Day weekend with Crossroads. I'm Katie Martinez, and I have a couple of thoughts to share from a mother's mind. This past Christmas, my daughter Amy gave me a book, Braiding Sweetgrass, by Robin Wall Kimmerer, who's a botanist and a mother of Native American descent. Robin writes about nature, connecting the scientific with spiritual wisdom. In the chapter called A Mother's Work, Professor Kimmerer tells the story of trying to fulfill her daughter's wishes after a divorce. Specifically, she labored to create a pond for the girls, a swimming pond in the rural backyard. Algae had taken over the pond, so much so that green mats of goop supported the ducks to walk on water. In the story, Robin rakes and shovels up masses of algae, trying to remove it, and in the process learns more about one of the species. It forms a sort of honeycomb mesh net, multiplying quickly by clonal reproduction. Little daughter cells are born inside the mother cells, and the mother cell then disintegrates to disperse her daughter cells into the water. The newborns fuse with each other and with pre-existing next-generation cells, weaving more of the net-like structure at the surface of the pond. Listen to these words from the wise professor. She writes, "I look out at the expanse of life just below the surface. I imagine the liberation of new cells, the daughters spinning off on their own. What does a good mother do when mothering time is done? As I stand in the water, my eyes brim and drop salt tears into the fresh water at my feet. Fortunately, my daughters are not clones on their mother, nor must I disintegrate to set them free. But I wonder how the fabric is changed when the release of the daughters tears a hole. Does it heal over quickly? Or does the empty space remain? And how do the daughter cells make new connections? How is the fabric rewoven?" Well, in honor of the year that we've just been through, I'd like to thank those of us who have mothered the next generation during the pandemic. We mothering souls have put food on the table for all ages. Moms are leading most of the home learning in households. They are nurses and doctors working round the clock, putting their lives at risk. They are the restaurant server, DoorDash deliverer, and grocery store public servants. Moms spend an extraordinary amount of time listening to and counseling teenagers and college students. And it's moms who make up the majority of our classroom teachers. Mothers play a specialized and a leading role in raising the next generation, all the while serving as the backbone of the society. So who in your life has fulfilled that role of comfort, strength, support, protection, and love? Give them your gratitude. And maybe you made it this far by yourself. You can show gratitude to yourself too. Think of the hidden figures who care for you. Everyone has someone to thank. And I thank you, Crossroads, for being good mothers and for spending part of your precious weekend gathering together. Please be kind to yourself and the moms you love.
I won't pretend that we can control the night or what kind of road we're on or where we will see the light. But right now I'm talking to you. I'm looking into your eyes. Right now I'm trying to show you that we're gonna be alright. Oh, I don't know all I know is that my love, it knows no end. All these pieces, they fall in line because I'm forever on your side. Take my hand when you can't see the light because I'm forever on your side. I will carry you every time because I am forever on your side. Oh, I am forever on your side.
Wow, wasn't that an incredible tribute to the mothers in our lives? Yeah, oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, it was beautiful. Incredible. Thank you for being here. Well, my name is Isaac, and I want to welcome all of you to our live cast today. And whether you're here watching in person or online, welcome, and we're glad you're here.
My name is Mike, and as you came into the room, you should have received a program with a few things inside, or if you're watching online, you should see a link pinned in the comments section. Do me a favor, if you are in the room, get that Connect card out, or if you are online, click that link to find the digital Connect card. If you are a regular attender, just put your name and email address and check the box regular attender on this card. If you are new around here, first of all, welcome. We are so glad that you are here. Please just fill out as much information as you feel comfortable sharing and check the box new here. On the back, you will see some next steps and easy ways to get questions answered or submit prayer requests. Hang on to those cards until the end of our gathering today, and then click Submit or drop it in the orange Hope is Here kiosks in the back of the auditorium. Thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah, and that's a great way to stay in touch because there's always a lot of great things happening here in our Crossroads community. And one thing that I'm really excited about that's coming up starting next week is our new series called The Spirituality of Happiness. And I mean, I know one thing that I'm really looking forward to in this is that we could all probably use another little dose of happiness after the year and a half or so we've had with COVID and the pandemic. But it's going to be incredible in this series because we're going to take science and scripture together to show the hallmarks of happy people, those distinguishing features of lives marked by happiness. It's going to be so great, and I hope that you'll join us next week as we kick off this series together.
Well, as you probably know, today is
Mother's Day.
So we have some extra special things out in the atrium for you to enjoy after the service. There's a beautiful photo booth set up for you to take pictures with Eric and Jenny from Mountain View Imagery. They're out there to take awesome professional photos for all of you. My family did that in between services, and we're so excited to get that. And we also have some nice refreshments set out, so stick around. After the service, grab something to drink and take a photo.
Yeah. You got a drink on the stage, too.
I do. Yeah, I got orange and Topo Chico there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying the coffee provided by Human Being out there. It's a lot of fun. But and lastly, I just want to say this. Thank you to all of you for your generosity. Financial generosity at this church is a part of our regular experiences on the weekends. And we just want to thank you, whether you're giving online or by mail or even on Venmo. And if you're here in the room and you want to drop off your giving envelope, you can do that in the orange kiosks that say Hope is Here on the way out today. And we do want to say thank you because your generosity helps fund a mission that brings hope to so many people in our Northern Colorado community and way beyond. So thank you for all of that.
Now is a great time to grab your talk notes and a pen. Ryan will be out in just a second with our Mother's Day message.
Happy Mother's Day. Good morning. For those of you that maybe came in a second or two later, you logged on a bit late. My name is Ryan, and I'm the lead pastor here at Crossroads, and it is wonderful to be together on this Mother's Day celebration. Y'all doing all right? You hanging in there? What I'm doing right now is fill in time as they figure out what's going on with the screens in the back. I don't want anybody to make any mistake about what I'm doing right now. I'm just filling it because there's some problem, and I'm not touching anything. So it's good to see everybody. I will say this, Mother's Day is a tricky day. It's a tricky day. It's a very tricky day. In the whole scope of a year of teaching on Sunday on the weekends like this, I will tell you, and be absolutely honest, this is the day that I dread the most. I absolutely dread this one the most. Because it really is challenging. And the first reason why I dread it is because I always have to start with Happy Mother's Day, which means now I got to figure out who are the 3 or 4 people in my life worthy of me taking 45 seconds and not forgetting to say Mother's Day to that might be here or watching. So I've got to start with Happy Mother's Day to my mother, Sue, who probably isn't watching now but was watching earlier. But I don't want you to judge me for not saying Happy Mother's Day to my own mother, so I'm going to do it right now. And then I want to say Happy Mother's Day to my sister, who might be watching right now because of the time zone difference, but I seriously doubt she watched it all today. I don't think I have that kind of value in her eyes. She'll probably listen to the podcast or something while she's gardening later, or whatever. And then I want to say Happy Mother's Day to my mother-in-law, Cindy, who is probably one of my biggest fans, who watches everything we do. So I'm positive Cindy's probably still watching. I appreciate that. And then Happy Mother's Day to my wife, Wendy, the mother of our children, who is out doing stuff with our special needs ministry and family ministries today. And then I have to say Happy Mother's Day to Justine, who you all don't know and have never met, but Justine is a part of our family who lived with us for many years and now has 3 kiddos of her own that we consider our quasi-grandchildren back east. And so Happy Mother's Day to Justine. So, okay, that one's out of the way. Thank you very much. Now, believe it or not, that's actually not the hard part about Mother's Day. The hard part about Mother's Day is it's such a diverse holiday of emotions, and it becomes really tricky. Now, what I've done for the past probably 5 years is on Mother's Day, I teach a form of a message that basically says, here's some lessons we can learn from Mother Teresa. You cannot go wrong with that message. I'm going to tell you, right, that's in my back pocket. If things go south today, I'm just going to switch to Mother Teresa. 3 things we can all learn and put into our lives from Mother Teresa, right? It's not hard to find Bible verses to justify that one. So that may come later, right? And it's a tricky day. And so I didn't want to do that this year. I want to try and tackle something that's a little challenging, but it becomes hard because we all do bring a different set of emotions to this day, depending upon our circumstances in life, depending upon our experiences with our own mother, with motherhood, whatever it might be. So some of you are here today, you're in the room, you're tuning in online, you're out in the atrium, and you bring this real spirit and attitude of celebration to the day. Like it's an awesome day. The kiddos are with you. Your grown children are sending you thousands of dollars today just to tell you how much they love you, right? Lunch is being prepared for you for the rest of the week. I mean, it's just a beautiful holiday, right? So we love it. We love it. And we celebrate with you. That's great. But here's part of the problem, is that some of you walk into this very same space, this very same weekend, you're sitting in the same atrium, you're tuned into the same feed, but to this day you come with a deep sense of grief. You come with a deep sense of grief because today brings an acuteness to loss. Perhaps you have lost your mother to death. And I don't care whether that happened 25 years ago or 25 minutes ago, today brings that grief, that pain into an acute reality. Maybe you're here and you have the loss of a child, and you walk through Mother's Day with an empty seat, with hopes and dreams that you thought would have been but never happened. And so there's a deep sense of grief. Perhaps you are desiring to be a parent yourself, and it just hasn't happened. And so this day brings this grief, and you kind of feel like, oh, I'm just supposed to put my happy face on and pretend like everything's okay. So some of us celebrate and some of us grieve, but then some come into this space with another emotion, and that is frustration. Frustration. Perhaps you're frustrated because, yes, motherhood is wonderful, but I do not want to be told 7 steps to being the perfect mom so that I feel like I'm the worst mom ever. And so there's this underlying frustration. I'm tired of that sermon. Or maybe you're deeply frustrated because you say, yes, motherhood is great, but I don't want to be a mother. And so please don't tell me that the height of my personhood as a person who bears children is to bear children. If I don't bear children, then I am not fulfilling God's design for my life. And so there's a deep frustration because you feel like you might live in a culture that the only value that women bring is that they bear children in this world. And you say, that better not be a part of the message today. I don't want to have any. It's deeply frustrating. Perhaps you're tuning in, you're in the room, and you're part of the LGBTQ community. this day is one that's challenging. Perhaps you're in a family that's raising children and there is no classical sense of the word mother. And so you say, how does this work? What do we do? This is just another reminder that I don't fit into the binary constructs of our world. Perhaps you're a transgender person longing desperately to be a mother and not, and dealing with gender dysphoria. It's just yet another reminder. And so there's pain involved with this day. Perhaps you consider yourself, you don't relate to either of the quote-unquote binary genders that get talked about so often, and you find yourself in a space where you would say, I'm non-binary, or I'm part of a community of people that would say, I am non-conforming in my gender understanding of myself, and so yet it's just another day that makes you feel like an outsider. Am I going to be loved? Am I going to be welcomed? Is this church going to recognize me? Is the culture itself going to recognize me? All that to say that there is a spectrum of emotions that come into this space today. And so with that, I'm going to close in prayer. Because as many of you know, on a normal day, my spiritual gift is offending people with my words about faith. And that is not my... So this is a tricky day. And as over the last 5 or 6 weeks, and it has been a long 5 or 6 weeks in coming into this day and thinking about creating this experience as a team and what are we going to talk about, and what are we going to say, and how are we going to navigate all of this? This is what came to me at like the end of all of this is we bring so much emotion to this day because it matters, right? Like if it didn't matter, if it wasn't vital, let's use the word vital, which is related to the idea of life-giving. If there wasn't something life-giving, like ultimately important about motherhood and mothers and mothering and childbearing, day would not bring those kinds of emotions. It would just be like, whatever. If gender realities and personhood and understanding of purpose, if it didn't matter, it would be like, no big deal. But biology, creation, like this reality is such a part of our lives that it's just baked into us. It's baked into us, this reality of mothering and motherhood, and so it's powerful. And so I wondered today if we could just do kind of a survey of some wisdom in Scripture around this idea of mother and God. And so now I really start walking into the landmines because nowhere in the Bible is ever the feminine pronoun used of God. See, our grounding metaphor, and again, when I say metaphor, nobody should ever hear me say just metaphor. I am a part of a school of thought that believes that metaphor gives us meaning, right? And so I'm no way, shape, or form am I in any sense downplaying the reality of God or life when I use this word. But the fundamental metaphor for God that we have is person, right? We say God is a person. But I will say that's a metaphor. God is not a person. And the problem with that metaphor, it's our grounding metaphor, but we don't think of personhood without a gender assignment of some value, okay? Now, that being said, could we go into Scripture and recognize we're not going to see God ever described as she? And for some in the room, that's going to be a challenge to talk about God as woman because we grow up in the shadow. Hopefully it's a shadow. Some may have grown up in the heart of patriarchy. And so there's this concept, this idea that unless you refer to God with male pronouns, you're doing something wrong. And that God would be something. These are metaphors. And so today I wonder if we could do a quick survey of some ways in which God is described and used around powerful feminine imagery. And see how that might shape us today and give us an understanding of mother and motherhood as divine. So that's what we're going to do. So a couple of things, a couple of points of wisdom in Scripture as we kind of survey. So I'm not going to take, one passage out of Scripture and dig through it. I'm going to just kind of jump through, similar to what we've been doing the last few weeks, but around this idea of feminine imagery and power found in the divine image and described as God. And it might be surprising to some of us, but hopefully it'll be freeing to all of us. So the first thing I want to recognize right now is that from the Scriptures, we see that gender diversity is a reflection of the divine image. Gender diversity is a reflection of the divine image. I believe that reality helps us understand what is real, capital R, okay? So small r reality, what you and I experience, what science helps us understand, is a reflection, is a shadow of big R, real reality, what we would call God. Okay? So that's kind of I just want to say that in that term. So gender diversity is this powerful reflection of God. And we speak of this gender diversity in the scriptures very early on. In Genesis chapter 1, 26 through 28, we get this beautiful story of creation. If you're kind of like me, I don't get too caught up on the science of the Bible. I think the Bible is theology. It's not science, nor is it history, by the way. It's theology, which are very different. And so it's providing meaning and understanding, and it's people asking big questions of the world in which they lived, questions that we can learn from and grow from. And so gender diversity is a part of the scriptures. We see in this very foundational story about why and how the world exists and what's behind everything. There's by the way, there's multiple creation stories in the Hebrew scriptures. This one is about creation in 6 days. God rests on the seventh day. And on the sixth day, it says in Genesis that God said, let us make human beings in our image after our likeness. First thing, let us. Very weird. So you have God singular talking, and God up until this point is singular, and all of a sudden God says, let us make human beings in our image. So we have this plurality that's taking place there. And it goes on and says, so God created mankind in his image, back to a singular pronoun. In the image of God, he created them, male and female. He created them. Now, we could pull the word God out and put the word divine in. That might help us form and fashion an understanding there, get us away from kind of the gender-charged God, he thinking. So the divine created mankind in the divine's image, and in the image of the divine, they were created, male and female. They were created, okay? So we get this picture that gender diversity is important. Now, I want to say this right away. If you're in here today, you say, well, gender, male and female, and see there right there, the Bible says male and female. Listen, science and the world are telling us that there is this reality of gender spectrum. And we might not grasp it fully. It might not encounter us because you and I, perhaps we sit very securely in a gender of male or a gender of female. But what the world around us and my relationships tell me is that in the real, there is a spectrum of gender. And there is this understanding and there is this complexity there. And even, it's fascinating, we get a hint of it from Jesus, who's kind of trying to be tricked by the Pharisees. In this one passage, Jesus is being tricked, and they're saying, oh, there's this woman, and she marries a man, and this man dies, and the brother comes and marries her, fulfilling what's called the Levirate vow, which is just a kind of you don't want to know about it. It's something from antiquity, but then this brother dies, and another brother comes, and this goes on and on. It says, at the resurrection, which is it? Who's going to be married to this woman? Who's going to be the woman's husband? And Jesus says, well, you're getting it all wrong. Nobody will, because you're neither given in marriage or married in the kingdom and at the resurrection. You'll be like the angels. And so Jesus almost removes this idea of this gender binary there. There's this hint of becoming like angels. And we see the divine oftentimes described in unique ways that you go, well, I don't know, is this a man? Is this a woman? Well, it's all that to just say, I think we as people of Jesus and our sacred scriptures give us this understanding that gender and gender diversity is important. And it's in the divine. And the divine encompasses all of it because it's real. And the divine is what is real, capital R, coursing everything together. Second thing we should hold to is this, that God remembers is described in Scripture as remembering God's people like a nursing mother, right? Or offering compassion like an expecting mother, or like a mother who carried a child in her womb. In Isaiah chapter 49, verse 15, it says, can a woman forget her nursing child or show no compassion for the child of her womb? Now, the appropriate answer to this question would be, of course not. No way. Now, again, in the real world, we know this happens. Some of you, Mother's Day is a hard day because you're like, yeah, my mom did exactly that. But the idea behind the rhetorical question is, it shouldn't ever be. No way. But God goes on and says in Isaiah 49, even these may forget. This might even happen. As crazy as that sounds, that could ever happen, but I will never forget you. The way I care for you, the way I love you, the way I hold you is so true and so strong. It's this. It's like a mother who has nursed her own children, carried a child that's a part of her. I'll never forget you. Another wonderful image that we get, metaphor that we get, believe it or not, is that God gives birth to us. That we are birthed, that we're given birth through God. Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 18 says it this way: you were unmindful of the rock that bore you. So this image of the rock is spoken of in Deuteronomy 32, and it's a reference to God as a rock of provision as the people of Israel were wandering through the wilderness. And basically God's saying, you forgot about me as the provider. This rock that bore you, right? That some translations actually say that begot you, right? That conceived you. You forgot the God who gave you birth, right? Y'all moms out there, don't forget, I brought you in this world. I will take you out of it, right? That's what God said. This is where it originates from. When you have said that as a mother, you have been inspired by the Spirit of God. You have been unmindful of your mother. You got into your preaching voice, and you let him have it. It's a beautiful image of a God who gives birth. Jesus would tell one of the Pharisees who was intrigued by his teaching and his life, who came in secret, he would talk with this Pharisee about a new birth, being born again, being born of the Spirit and water. You can't just be born of flesh. And it's amazing how in a patriarchal mind that has for decades controlled the interpretation of Scripture, we've just abandoned that you can't talk about a second birth without the feminine. You just can't do it. And this is what God is doing. Another thing is God's comfort is attached to motherhood. The comfort that God brings us, it uses this metaphor, this understanding of motherhood and the mother. Isaiah 66:13 says, as a mother comforts her child, so I will comfort you. You shall be comforted in Jerusalem. Jesus would look over the Jerusalem in the mind and in the work of the gospel writers and would weep and mourn over Jerusalem and would say, oh, how I wish I could gather you under the protection of my wings as a mother hen gathers her chicks. Right? No fear of that language. This is God. Now, this is one of my favorite images of God that relates to like this feminine care and strength and power of a mother. And that is that God will prepare us for life as a mother eagle prepares her eaglets for life. That God will prepare us for the perils and the dangers and the challenges of this life, just like a mother eagle. So Deuteronomy 32:11-12, that same chapter in Deuteronomy that talked about birthing, God birthing, giving birth, says, like the eagle that stirs up its nest and hovers over its young, God spreads wings to catch you and carries you on pinions. I had to look up pinions. I was like, what in the world are pinions? I'm not a bird scientist, right? And I've learned that that's a ornography, ornographic, bird. What is it? Ornography? Ornithologist. Thank you. Who said ornithologist? Raise your hand up nice and high. Help me out. Good. Right there. Good. You don't have to give in the offering today. That's your reward. They're like, I already gave online. Well, we can't refund it. That's illegal. Okay. No, listen, I'm joking. But I didn't know what that was. So pinions are like the strong part of the outside of the eagle's wings that can carry the weight. And here's what's fascinating about eagles, right? So I had to look this up again too. So when a mama eagle decides, hey, I think I'm getting ready to lay some eggs, I'm going to have babies, she goes and makes a nest. She makes this nest high up on a ledge or in a branch on a tree and makes this nest, goes and gets all the branches, and a lot of these branches are thorns and thistles, and they're pretty hard and nasty. So she creates this big old nest, right? And then what the mama eagle does is the mama eagle goes and finds feathers, fills it up, finds grass, fills it up, makes it nice and soft and cushy, and lays the eggs. The eggs hatch, cares for her eaglets. And as they grow and they get super cozy and comfortable in that nest, what does this mama eagle do? This mama eagle slowly but surely, day after day, starts to pull out the feathers. She starts to pull out the comfort till all of a sudden these little eaglets are so uncomfortable from the thorny branches and the hard wood, they're like, get me out of here. What are you doing, Mom? You don't get me. They turn into teenagers, right? Where's the remote? This isn't comfortable. We need a new couch, right? They're just super uncomfortable, mouthy little eaglets, right? And so this eagle, to show her little ones, throws them out. right? No, what happens? This mother eagle takes these eagles who've had no experience, no understanding, and just shoves them out of the nest. And they just fall. They just fall, tumble. They didn't get their learner's permit for flying. No 50 hours before you get shoved out of the nest on your own. Nope, it's just like, gone. See you later, right? And she watches this, and then what does that mother eagle do? Flies out of the nest, soars down, spreads out her wings, catches the eaglet, and the eaglet flies for the first time, experiences it, and is sold. I'm in. I'm in. And this is the imagery that we get from Scripture. That's what God does. That God cares for us, comforts us, prepares us. And God, she shoves us out of the nest, watches us, then spreads out her wings so that we might land and learn how to fly, so that we could mount up with wings like eagles. What a beautiful image. So what I don't want us to miss this day, in the complications of Mother's Day and our own personal experiences, whether we're here today and we're celebrating or we're frustrated or we're grieving, that the Bible gives us a God that is shaped like a mother's heart. The Bible gives us a God that's shaped like a lot of things, but we should not miss that the Bible gives us a God that's shaped like a mother's heart, and there's some powerful, powerful realities to that. And so in your everyday normal life, as you walk out of here and you go into, work, parenting, neighborhood meetings, grandparenting, whatever it might be, what does this mean? What is the importance of, if God is shaped like a mother's heart, what does that mean for tomorrow? What does that mean for my everyday normal life? Well, I think it means that on this day, we should honor both mothers and motherhood and the complexity of all that is. And so what I mean by that is that we should recognize that there is a genderless reality to motherhood, that the spreading of wings, there is this God that covers the spectrum. And so this, when we care for, when we encourage, when we love, when we give strength to, when we come alongside, when we pick people up in our arms, right? When we bring safety and security, when we bring all those things, that's motherhood, and we should honor that today in all of its forms. But we should not miss the also gendered reality of mothers, those women in our lives who give of themselves. And so we should show our gratitude for the women who have invested in our life. We should take this as an opportunity to understand that it is important, that it is of value. In all the preparation for today and this talk, I had lots of conversations, and one of the things that I felt like I learned from really important conversations with people who would be considered the kind of like classical word for mom, to transgender women who are saying, this is what I'm dealing with, this is how I'm thinking about mothers, to conversations with lesbian couples that are raising children and how they navigate Mother's Day and Father's Day. What I learned was this: gender's important. It's important. And it's important that we understand it in its complexity right now, but because it's important, it's also important that we can have a moment to celebrate women. And that mothering aspect. It means we also have to have other ways to celebrate other expressions of gender, but we shouldn't abandon it. We should grab a hold of it, and we should value that this is this moment in our culture where we can say thank you. So express our gratitude. Maybe do it more than once a year. Just a thought. I'm just going to throw that out there. I don't want to put any pressure on anybody, but I do believe that we need all genders in our lives investing in us. I think that's of extraordinary value, because the other always shapes us to become like Jesus. I just believe that. Anytime I experience someone other than me, that doesn't look like me, that doesn't think about gender like me, that doesn't parent like, anytime I experience the other, somehow I'm being transformed to be like Jesus, because it's shaping the way I love, it's shaping the way I see, shaping the way I understand. And then for those of us in the space who today is really more filled with grief or frustration than celebration, I want to encourage you to bring that anguish, that Mother's Day anguish, to God. That God can handle that God can spread her wings, I'm trying to scare you a little bit, and can give you strength. Amy Simpson is an author and speaker, blogger, editor. I didn't really know much about her, but in my research, Googling, I found a blog post that she wrote called God as Mother to the Motherless. And what I found really powerful was the very personal nature in which she talked about this. She talks about how she lost her mom, I think it was about 30 years ago, she writes, to schizophrenia. Wasn't to death, but to schizophrenia, which brought about a whole other set of grief and loss lived over and over and over again, growing up with a mother who was present maybe physically, but completely unavailable, and what that meant for her life and her longing for a mother and motherhood. And she wrote about this, and I would encourage you maybe to look up, write down the blog and her name. You might want to read the whole thing. It won't take you very long. It's pretty short, but her personal story is really powerful in it. And she says this. She says, on Mother's Day one year, I sat, and I listened through yet another sermon. I listened through yet another sermon that idealized moms. Again, I'm reading this in preparation going, oh, crud, am I going to do that? So she's sitting there through another one of these sermons, and she said, I responded as usual. I responded with an acidic mix of anger, of grief, and longing. It had all boiled to the surface of my life. She said, I had some time to myself after, and I just, for the first time, she said, I opened the floodgates, and I just let this wave come pouring out before God. I just let it out. And she said, when my sobs had settled into a quiet ache, I told God what I longed for. Listen to what she said. She said, God, I longed for a mother who could guide me. I longed for a mother who could pass along what she had learned about life, that she could help me understand what's around the next corner, that she could cheer me on, soothe me. I longed for reminders of her love. I longed for the opportunity to occasionally be able to rest in her wisdom and her strength. She said, I asked God to deaden my longing, to bring someone into my life who could partially fill that role. She said, as I was praying, suddenly the phrase from Psalm 68:5 came to mind, Father to the fatherless. And then the thought, Mother to the motherless. She said, in that epiphany, in that moment, this was a possibility she had never considered, that God himself, the language that we've been given, could fulfill her need for that mother. And again, I think we have to have grace with language, fulfill the need. There's this biological reality to needing diversity of gender inputs into our lives to offer us security and acceptance and grace. And so if you're here today, I just would encourage you that there is a God who can spread her wings and catch you. That pain you might feel today, that frustration, that grief, you don't have to hide it. You don't have to put on your brave face. You don't have to pretend that today is good. You don't have to do any of that with God. God is big enough. And as you're kind of in a free fall of Mother's Day, just trust that you don't have to learn to fly in the moment, but that there is a God who can spread her wings and catch you. Then the last thing I would encourage us to kind of put into our hearts for just life as we think about these images of God is that the birthing center of any hospital is sacred ground. It's holy ground. I really do believe that. And I want to remember that. I want to remember that there's something very, very powerful and spiritual about giving birth. And I want to remember that particularly because I can't give birth. I don't know if you know that or not about me. It's not in the cards. So I actually need women in my life who've given birth to help me understand God's love in ways that I will never be able to get. There's this really crazy, strange passage, and I've mentioned it here or there, that is attributed to Paul in history, where Paul kind of writes and says, perhaps women will be saved through childbirth. And so that, depending upon what you mean by the word saved, and different traditions think of it differently, you go, well, what in the world is that talking about? And I think, if I can give my own understanding of that passage, I think there's some very deep truth in it, whether or not whoever wrote that, when they wrote it, was catching it. But I think there's something really powerful in that I do believe that giving birth to a child places a deep and profound knowledge and understanding of divine, unconditional love and unbreakable connection. It just instills it in a soul. It's just an experience that I think is mystical, that I see it in my own spouse and in her life with our children. She doesn't, I don't want to say that she loves my children better. She might say that, and I might have to concede. But I would say she loves them differently because of those experiences. And I think to myself, how could she not? Now, please don't hear what I'm saying, that the only way you can understand God's unconditional love is to be a woman who carries a child in your womb and feeds a child at your breast, and then you get it, and now you're perfect and whole. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there is an experience, a reality to this part of human existence that we can all learn from, that we can all experience. And so I do think that childbirth can save all of us from something very tragic, and that is an understanding of love that's grounded in behavior. It's crazy how my wife can just love our kids regardless of their behavior. Like, I'm in the other room looking for the receipt. Like, surely we kept the receipt for this one. Like, but there's something really amazing, and I see it and I think there's this beautiful mystery that it happens and it gets instilled in other ways and other experiences too. So I don't think it's the only way. Again, don't hear, I can offend everybody easily. So it's not the only way, but it is a way. And it's an experience that many share. Because what happens in this pattern, I think, what happens that's such a great mystery is, and it seems to be shared across cultures, right? This isn't like, oh, I'm a Christian or I'm a Buddhist or I'm a Muslim. It's across cultures and religion, but like, it's now a love that's divine because it's based on being. It's based on relationship. It's not based on behavior. It's based on this fact that I created you. And I sustained you, and I nurtured you, and you were in my womb, and we existed together, and now we are apart, but we are still together. There still is that reality in the life of a mother who's carried a child in a womb that says, you were at one point a part of me, so how could you never not be? And I wonder if it isn't the whole process of life and death summed up in this beautiful image of a womb and life and separation and a return. And a God that says, you are mine, and I'm yours, and how could you ever not be? And I do believe that if we understand this image of God, this metaphor of God, if we learn from those who hold this love for being and not behavior, I actually believe this is what saves the world. That if we could understand a love that is grounded in being and extend that beyond biology, oh man, how could we fear? How could we exclude? How could we show violence? It saves us from that. And so I do believe that motherhood, these words that we have that kind of point us to this reality at its finest, in its most perfect sense, right? Its most divine. I mean, what it gives us is this beautiful picture of divine grace, of unbreakable connection, and of unconditional love. These are the things that create healthy spirituality. These are the things that will end war. These are the things that will cause the lion to lay down with the lamb. This is that reality. So as we wrap up our kind of Mother's Day celebration, we have a blessing that Wendy is going to give over all of us today, and a song from Taylor Swift. I mean, how are you going to do Mother's Day without Taylor Swift, right? I mean, I'm not a heathen, come on. But before we do all that, I gotta just ask you my question. What's God inviting you into? What's God inviting you? I can tell you in the last 5 or 6 weeks, God's invited me into a lot that's been challenging and good and wonderful. But over the last few moments, this time that we've had together, maybe it was a song, maybe what is it that God's inviting? And I hope that we all hear God whispering to us, hey, express the gratitude to the people who've mothered you. Express that gratitude. I hope you hear the Spirit of God whispering, hey, hold the beauty and importance of both biblical metaphors, God as Father and Mother and everything in between. Like hold all of that together and let God become bigger than you ever thought. Let it happen. And maybe we hear God saying, why don't we hold a love for people like a mother's love for a child that's grounded in being and not behavior? What if we could love our neighbor, not based on what they do, not based on what they say, but just based on their being? And that's complex, and that's hard, and that's difficult. But maybe that's the greatest lesson of Mother's Day for all of us. And so here's a blessing for you, for all of us today, and a fun song to close us out. And I'll get you out of here in just a minute.
Many people mother us throughout our lives. In that spirit, today we honor the variety of ways and means with which we are all mothered, beyond and including biology and choice. Now that I am a mother, I understand what this day is about, looking through our lives and recognizing the act of mothering everywhere we see it, and more than that, recognizing that when any of us mother, when we listen, nurture, nourish, protect, we are doing sacred work. In the same way that we have diverse ways of loving God, we have diverse ways of mothering, diverse ways to bring things to life, to create, to build, and to protect. Whether you have kids or not, single or married, gay, straight, transgender, rich, poor, educated, uneducated, divorced, widowed, young, old, it makes no difference. We all have this in common. We all somehow mother. Now more than ever, that is what the world needs, and this is what we celebrate on Mother's Day. While we celebrate, we also acknowledge that Mother's Day is a difficult day for many. For those who are alone during this time, feeling broken over the pain of this world, and you just can't right now. For those who are mourning losses from every direction, grief has no rules. Grief has no rules. It is a great reminder that yes, even mothers and children will weep on this day. If you are grieving today, consider this your permission slip to take the time to breathe, to sit for a while with the heaviness of these days. We deeply love you and see you. Now for all of us, as we prepare to leave this moment and into a world needing mothering, may you find the strength and power to mother those you love by calling out God's image in someone, cultivating art and words and beauty, advocating for one another, building friendships and life-giving relationships. May love empower you to midwife spiritual shifts. May you influence change, hug someone who needs it, listen to a friend, cry with those who cry, celebrate with those who celebrate. This week, you can offer the gift of motherhood each time you start something, build something, and create something. Each time you protect what's good. Each time you feed the hungry, tend to the sick, and give rest to those who are tired. Whenever you lend hope to someone who needs to borrow it, may you be reminded of the God who mothers when you inspire dreams and new ideas, when you nurture pockets of justice and love and freedom and peace in small or big ways, when you lead teams, when you care for your coworkers, your neighbors, or someone else's child, when you care for your parents, when you care for yourself. And may this God of all love and motherhood give you the opportunities to practice mercy and courage. May God show you the path of humility, confession, and repentance, even when pride feels more comfortable and superior. And may you know the deep love without end of our big, wild, beautiful God, who is the very best example of any parent that we could know. May the God who mothers you meet you right in the place where you stand. And may you sense this energetic, loving care of our mother today. May you always know that you are fully held and fully loved. Let it be so, and let it be in you, and let it be in me. Amen.
far. But I know you're not scared of anything at all. You don't know if Snow White's house is near or far away, but I know I have the best day with you today. I'm 13 now and don't know how my friends could be so mean. I come home crying and you hold me tight and grab the keys, and we drive until we found a town far enough away, and we talk and window shop till I've forgotten all the names. I don't know who I'm supposed to talk to now. I swoon, but I know I'm laughing on the car ride home with you. Don't know how long it's gonna take to feel okay, but I know I have the best day with you today. I have an excellent mother. Her strength is making me stronger. She's good to me and my brother, inside and out. She's everything we need. I grew up in a pretty house that I had space to run and guide. Had the best days with you. There is a video I found from back when I was 3. You set up a paint set in the kitchen and you're talking to me. It's the age of princesses and pirate ships and the 7 dwarfs. Daddy's smart and you're the prettiest lady in the whole wide world. And now I know why all the trees change in the fall. I know you were on my side even when I was wrong, and I love you for giving me your eyes, for staying back and watching me shine. I didn't know if you knew, so I'm taking this chance to say that I have the best day with you today.
All right. Well, do me a favor, stand on up. We're going to get you out of here. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for celebrating Mother's Day. Thank you for tuning in if you are online and as you head out today. I do hope you have a wonderful day. I hope that your heart is filled with gratitude for those in your life who have mothered you, who have invested in you. If you have anything going on in your life today that you would love for somebody to pray with you, you can click on the button online that just says live prayer, and someone would love to pray with you. We have some folks here that will be in the room to just pray with you for a few moments if you'd like to do that. Otherwise, don't forget, go out, enjoy that photo booth. Everybody get their picture taken, no matter what your family looks like today. Enjoy that. Grab some coffee from Human Being and have an amazing Sunday. We'll see everybody next weekend.
doing well? Are you taking your time? Do you carry your heart heavy as mine? Are you walking the long road, trying to fly? Oh, I always thought you'd be the one by my side. I would fall right in to your love, 'cause I'm crashing into us, burning at both ends. For your love, let me fall again into love, I would cross the line in the open sea just to be near your